Hello and welcome back to the Eurobox. I'm Lenny and today I'm joined again by Mikhail and Mathias. Today we're going to talk about the quarterfinals. So the first game in the quarterfinals is a good game in probably the two favorites for the tournament. We've got Spain versus Germany. We'll start off by talking about Germany. And Mikhail, would you like to talk about their road so far to this in this tournament?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this game I think is the most anticipated one, certainly the most exciting one, and more specifically, a game that features two teams that have performed the best at this tournament, the most consistent ones, those that showed most flair, I think, in the tournament so far, and two teams that I think most of us would have wanted to meet in the final, both for particular reasons. Focusing on Germany, though, they've impressed. It's the first time since 2016, back in Paris, well, in France, when they reached the quarterfinal of any international tournament. They haven't done that since the Euros in France, where they lost in Marseille to France in the semis. Well, unless you count the Confederations Cup, which they won in 2017 in Russia. But when it comes to major tournaments, I don't think it features in that list. So it's a big step for Germany. I think the quarterfinal was the minimum. When you asked German fans, and certainly those friends that I've got from the Bundesland, those that I spoke to, everyone said quarterfinal is the bare minimum, is the acceptable minimum at home. But I think the way they've performed, especially from the very first game, I think those expectations were increased. And right now, a quarterfinal, I don't even know if it would be considered a success considering how well they've played. And they will be gutted that it's Germany that they're playing. Oh, sorry, they will be gutted that it's Spain that they'll be playing in this round because at this stage, with the current state of affairs, they would have been the favourites in every single game against any other opponent apart from Spain.
Matthias, would you like to talk about more about that Italy match and how you felt about that?
I honestly have no comment because I've been watching Italy for the last nearly 10 years of my life now. And I think as an Italian fan and just as an Italian in general, I don't think we've seen that kind of match since a long, long time. Because even if Italy hasn't qualified for the last two World Cup, at least when they were getting out of the tournament against, I believe it was Sweden in 2017 and North Macedonia in 2021, 2022, they were never they were at least playing a bare minimum. There was at least a minimum of game. On that match, Spain dominated everything, literally everything. I'm even wondering if the players were actually on the field at that point. And there is only one player that needs to be thanked a lot during that match, Gianluigi Donnarumma. Without him, the score could have been at least 5 or 6-0 for Spain. Because considering how Spain won, attacking non-stop, dominating the whole match, they've had a lot of chances. And thank God Donnarumma was there to save everything, because otherwise it would have been a huge disaster for La Nazionale.
Thank you, Matthias. Now we're going on to their last game against Georgia, 4-1. An absolute, not the best, absolute domination over Georgia, but not the best start from a Lenormand own goal. Mikhail, what did you think of that game and how did you feel that game went for Spain?
I think Spain is a team that sets an example of how you should react when a team that is not expected to do well in a game suddenly has a flying start. We saw with England how much they struggled to get back into the game. We saw Austria never really got back into the game when Turkey took an early lead. I think Spain showed how to react. They showed what is expected of a favorite team. They were just relentless. They carried on. They had a few shots. They tried different positions. I know early in the second half when Laporte had a shot from miles out, which I think went over the bar. I'm like, oh yeah, Spain is running out of ideas. Well, they proved me wrong pretty quickly. What they were doing is just using a range of different options. Well, you can have a go because they know that every time they'll recycle the ball back. They're going to have another chance in about 2 minutes. They're not scared to try different things. No one is scared to take a shot because they know that every 2, 3 minutes they're going to have a next opportunity, which they'll then employ to their benefit. And eventually the goal came from Rodri. You know, I consider Rodri the best player in the world. I think in that game he proved it, or at least to be up there. And then Spain just flew away. Nico Williams, probably many of us, including myself, brought him into our fantasy teams going into the round of 16. And I think that was a good pick, and he certainly justified that. Lamine Yamal probably will be disappointed that he still hasn't scored in the tournament. Nevertheless, a brilliant assist, almost identical to the one he provided in the first match against Croatia to Carvajal. when he played in Fabian Ruiz onside. Brilliant glancing header past Mamardashvili to make it 2-1. And then just Spain flew away. Brilliant goal for Nico Williams. And an even better one from the substitute, Dani Olmo. 4-1, quite comprehensive. First goal conceded, of course. But it's what you'd expect. Georgia gave a wonderful account of themselves in the tournament. They were treated with immense admiration and joy on their return to Tbilisi on their way back from the Euros, and Spain march on. The only thing I'd say, I still think Spain haven't been tested. Germany have. I think Switzerland was a test. I think Denmark stood to the task and took Germany all the way, and only a few unfortunate cases stopped Denmark from taking the lead in that game. Spain haven't been tested as much. And you could always ask the question, is it Spain that is that good, or are the opponents just non-existent and pretty much appalling throughout the performances? Because you look at the games, Croatia, I think their performance at this tournament spoke for itself. 1 point, 2 points, sorry, and a loss, getting knocked out in the group. Spain did well in that game. For the first time, they gave away possession. It's not something they tend to do. It's the first time in years that happened. But Croatia actually had a good XG and should have been scoring once or twice. Italy, yes, that was Spain's, I think, best performance of the Euro so far. But even then, we saw what Switzerland did. They dominated Italy almost in the exact same way as Spain did earlier. So maybe it is, and then Albania and Georgia are just not the teams of the standard that Spain expect them to be. Especially Albania wasn't playing for too much in that game either. So you could always argue that the opponents haven't been up to stake just yet, and this will be the first proper test for Germany, for Spain. But on the other hand, the performances have been so emphatic and so dominant that the case for Spain is very strong.
Lovely point from you, Mikhail. Before we move on to Spain's opponents, Germany, I would like to highlight one player. He's one of my favorite players right now in football, and I've seen him quite a lot for the last year, for the last 2 years. Nico Williams. What a tournament he's having so far. He's stood out from he's been one of the outstanding players in that Spain squad, especially in the last game with 1 goal, 1 assist. And I feel like he's going to be my Spain's best player of the tournament so far. Mikhail, I'm assuming you would go for Rodri, or is there a different player you would like to highlight?
No, so far I think the outstanding performer has been Nico Williams. Rodri's integral to the side. He's a key building block of that defensive and attacking structure. He connects the two things, the two parts of the Spain team. But I think the outstanding, most memorable player of the tournament has been Nico Williams. I remember screaming at the top of my lungs after the Italian game, someone signed the bloke. It was just unbelievable. Absolutely astonishing. He didn't score, of course, in that game, came very close on numerous occasions. I was glad to see him get the goal. And it's just a Nico Williams type goal. He's dribbled past the defender, and instead of just trying to play it past the keeper, dribble around, hesitate like many do at this tournament, he absolutely roofed it. No chance at all. What a finish it was. And then provided the assist for Rodri himself early in the half as well. Nico Williams, I think, has been the best player for Spain at this tournament. Fabian Ruiz could be in contention as well. He's already scored twice, including one of the best goals of the tournament on match day one. So he'd be there. Yamal, of course, but yet to score, which kind of decreases his chances for that unofficial title. And Rodri, of course, as well. But yeah, I think Nico Williams is the player being watched the most. It was a funny incident with Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. You can see they get on really well. Them playing rock, paper, scissors full time of Georgia, Spain, to see who gets to drink the water first. I found it frankly hilarious, to be honest. But it shows you a great mood in the camp. It shows that the both wingers get on well, despite actually a 6-year age gap. It's pretty crazy to think, but that's how it is. But Williams, yeah, I think a big money move is on the table. Barcelona's is the main one, I think. Chelsea, there's been links with them as well. Regardless of where he goes, Nico Williams in his current form starts for most teams in Europe. And I know he's got his Basques connections and he's very integral to Athletic Bilbao. But I think it just might be time to move to avoid the mistakes of his older but also very talented brother.
So Matthias, who would you go for player of the tournament from the Spain squad?
Honestly, I would have to go with the same player as Mikhail said. Nico Williams has been honestly tremendous since the beginning of the tournament. Because, you know, as you said, although he was playing against Italy, I do have to say he was just tremendous during the whole match. Lamine Yamal being like one of the best young talents of the team, but Nico Williams just, as Mikhail rightly said, during the match whilst we were watching, someone signed this bloke because he's just really, really good. And I saw a video of I think it was Pedri, Yamal, and Williams, I think, joking between each other about Barcelona. So I think it's very likely that he might go to Barcelona, looking at how it is going now. So yeah, I would definitely go for Williams. Rodri has been good, that's for sure. Rodri has been really good, but I would say probably not as good as Williams. I have the impression we haven't seen him as much as Williams honestly has been on the pitch, but I guess it's quite difficult since Spain has been playing very attacking wise during most of the matches. So yeah, I would honestly go for Williams.
No, I think the reason that we say about Rodri, he's the fifth best player in the world officially last year. He finished top five in the Ballon d'Or rankings, so you'd expect him to perform at that level. The man's lost one game in 13 months of football. So you'd expect the consistency that he has provided in this competition. And Nico Williams, unless you follow La Liga the closest way possible, you wouldn't have heard this name before the tournament. So that's why I think he stands out so much. And also, there's just more flair to his game. And for a neutral fan, it's all about the flair. Rodri, well, you have to be not a tactical master, but someone really invested into analyzing the tactical importance of central defensive midfielders and their involvement in the build-up. If you don't, then I think Nico Williams, and rightly so, stands out. So for now, probably Nico Williams, especially with the surprise factor. He comes as a surprise package and as an outstanding performer as well. But to kind of sum it up, I think everyone's been brilliant for Spain. Even Lenormand, despite his own goal, probably the player least known in this team, still has stood up to the task.
Thank you. Thank you for the choices, guys. Lovely choice. I've also got for Nico Williams. But we'll move on to Spain have had an amazing tournament so far, but what do you guys think they should make? What change should they make? What players should they bring in, swap around? What do they have to improve? I'll start off with you, Mikhail.
Spain. I don't think that there's much you can change. I mean, the big talking point was obviously the left back position and maybe the centre back positions. Going into the tournament, everyone was surprised to see Cucurella feature. He's had a tricky start at Chelsea, tricky few seasons even by now. And Alex Grimaldo seemed like the obvious option after being one of the best in his position in the world this year, if not the best. Well, De La Fuente went for Cucurella. That has paid off, and I think there's no more questions about the justification of Cucurella's presence in the lineup. The other positions, I think, are pretty reasonable. Carvajal's the best right back in the world this year. He's found his new prime. And then there's obviously Laporte and Lenormand, who are at the moment not facing much alternative. Nacho started in the first game, and as much as he's had a great season for Madrid, Croatia, he actually allowed Croatia to create quite a few chances. And Lenormand and Laporte seem to be working quite well together, so it looks like they will stick. And any other positions, there's not much change. Pedri Ruiz as Rodri is working brilliantly. And then, well, Nico Williams, Yamal, and Morata also. So I don't think there's going to be any changes. I wouldn't change anything. I think Spain will play with the same team against Germany in the next round. It's Germany, and we'll get onto them, where the conversation regarding changes is going to be a very interesting one. With Spain, it's consistent. Players coming off the bench offer a lot. And, well, the only talking point is maybe Dani Olmo has earned himself a starting lineup place. But at the end of the day, Pedri's such a servant for Spain, and I don't think he loses his lineup, especially against Germany, where Spain would want to keep as much of the ball to not allow Germany to break on the counters and employ their three number 10s in the most effective manner. So I think it will be the same lineup.
Yeah, I agree with you when that Spain have arguably had one of the best tournaments so far. Not many changes have to be made against Germany. Maybe bring in one strong point of this tournament, Dani Olmo, as you mentioned. But we'll now move on to Germany. Germany going in as arguably the second favorite of the tournament. As the hosts, they've had an amazing tournament so far with an amazing group campaign with the one draw against Switzerland. But as they went into the round of 16, they won their game to get into the quarterfinals, going into this game against Spain. Who do you think stands out in that squad, Mikhail or Matthias, in that Germany squad?
Jamal Musiala is the obvious one. He's been, well, arguably the best player of the Euro so far. He's certainly up there. He's the top scorer, joint with I believe Gakpo and also Mikhail and I think Harasling as well from Slovakia. But the latter two are out, so it looks like it's going to be between Gakpo and Musiala for the Golden Boot. Although at this stage it's so close that a good performance from anyone would put a spring in their step for the Golden Boot. We know how Griezmann scored half of his goals from the quarterfinal onwards when winning the Golden Boot in 2016. So it could differ, but I think Musiala is the player to watch. Tony Cruz, for obvious reasons, is the other player to watch because I can't imagine what he's feeling like coming on the pitch every single time, knowing that it could be your last 90 minutes ever when you're in your prime. I think no one's actually even understood the extent of this all. It hasn't sunk in properly. Tony Cruz's announcement of retirement was so sudden. It was like a thunder in a clear sky. So it's probably them two, and then well, Antonio Rudiger, what a character. Man of the match in the last 16, and he's almost inviting attention on himself. So I think Germany have got one player in each line of defense and attack and midfield to watch out for. So for me, in this tournament so far, it's been Musiala, Cruz, and Rudiger. And if we expected it from Cruz and Rudiger, not as much from Musiala, given what a tricky tournament, what a tricky year he's had at Bayern. But certainly he's excelling and he's the biggest attacking threat for Nagelsmann's team.
Yeah, good point. Musiala, I would agree with you, has had an amazing tournament so far. But another player I'd like to point out would be Florian Wirtz. Wirtz, who didn't play the last game, but towards the group stage, he's had an amazing group stages so far.
I'm
With
not sure he'd start though. That's the interesting one because he was benched for the last 16. Not that Sane offered too much, and unlike Vert, Sane is yet to score in a tournament. But against Spain, we might get into more tactical analysis a bit further on. But I'm not sure three number 10s against a team that would have most of the ball is a reasonable tactic because without the ball, Musiala, Vert, and Gundogan would pretty much remain isolated. So maybe Sane with his pace to break out against the defense of Cucurella, Laporte, and Lenormand, or maybe Musiala could be that. Maybe Leroy Sané down that right hand side could be an option. So Wirtz is impressed, but well, he might not start once more.
so I'm showing my screen here, but I pulled up the predicted squads. Squad changes might be made, but we're looking at the squads that each squad might put out, and we're looking. It's head to head, very equal squads. And when I'm looking at, I would like to point out a few names. A player that I didn't like, he's had an amazing season at Bayer Leverkusen, but Andrik, he's had an amazing season so far, and he's shown it with a goal in one of the matches previously. So looking at that, is there any other names you guys want to point out or from either squad that will be the threat to the other team?
100%. In terms of threat, I think the threat's obvious. It's Williams, Morata, and Yamal. The whole front three is dangerous, and Fabian Ruiz is on form. There's no surprise about the Spain side, and we know how they'll play. We know they'll have the ball. We know they'll create loads. We know Yamal will look for balls into the box. We know Carlo and Cucurella will overlap. It's the Germany side that's interesting. Number one, maybe a bit harsh, but I expected, or at least I wanted to see Schlotterbeck remain in the team. I think he's just a better defender than Jonathan Tah. I think the system of Xabi Alonso at Bayern Leverkusen disguises weaknesses. But to be honest, for me, Schlotterbeck should start over Tah. I thought he had a great game against Denmark. Obviously, scored a disallowed goal with Kimmich's shoulder bash earlier in the process. So I thought Schlotterbeck would stay. It looks like he'll be Tah on his return from the suspension. The other talking point is Raum. I think rightly so. He's earned his place in the starting lineup. He just offers way more going forward. I expected him to start anyway ahead of Mittelstadt. Mittelstadt, he reminds me of this old school left back that would be solid at the back, would offer limited involvement up top, but at the same time could always deliver a ball into the box when required. Raum offers more, and I think that's why it's good that he'll feature. And the other two talking points, one we discussed, Sane and Wirtz, both would be great. We'll see who starts. It's almost a toss of a coin at this stage. And I still think Havertz would start over Nicholas Füllkrug, although there were talks about maybe bringing in Füllkrug to freshen things up. Well, Füllkrug has scored against Spain in the last World Cup, coming off the bench. So he'll hope to replicate that at home in the quarterfinal. And I think against the tired Laporte and Lenormand, well, actually, Nicholas Füllkrug will have his chances. He'll fancy his opportunities and he may take some of them. But at the beginning, if Germany want to keep at least some of the ball, they'll need Havertz to play his usual role. And with Gundogan and Musiala around him, I think he'll succeed. So not too many questions, and certainly a highly anticipated fixture.
Now, before we go into predictions, there's one thing I would like to the one thing I would like to highlight is both teams going into this match with an undefeated streak. Spain haven't lost in 7 matches. Germany haven't lost in 8 matches. I'll start off with you, Mikhail. How do you feel this match is going to go?
I think Spain win it. I think they might just have enough. There's a part of me that says that Germany could find a way. I was listening to the Football Ramble during my shift earlier today, and one of the hosts said that actually Germany just always find a way, and maybe Spain that haven't been tested yet could be threatened. There is 2 things though. One is Germany just historically don't do well against Spain. I can't remember the last time they beat Spain at an international competitions, but they certainly remember losing to Spain and then Spain going on to win tournaments. Uh, I think Spain just have it. The attacking flair, the variety of options that they've got up top and off the bench will be too much for Germany. And they've shown their vulnerabilities against Switzerland. They've shown their vulnerabilities against Denmark. And I think Spain might just be too much for them. So, as Hosselu said, Spain could retire Tony Kroos at home in Germany. And I think it'll be deserved. The best team, the team that has played the best football, the most scintillating football at the tournament, I think deserves to go through, and it will be right for the game.
What about you, Matthijs? What do you feel is going to happen in Spain versus Germany?
I was thinking what Mikhail said earlier on, and I think he was quite right about saying that Spain didn't really get a challenge during the beginning of this Euro because they haven't played against, I would say, particularly strong teams that could face them problems. Although, they're considered as big nations, football history, they haven't showed a great image. Croatia and Italy compared to, Switzerland, who nearly got the win against Germany. So obviously on the paper, I think we all want to say Spain is going to win, but I think tonight, at least sorry, this afternoon, we'll be able to understand, what's the real face in a way of Spain and see if they'll be able to win against big nations, because then I think if they manage to pull up a good solid win against Germany, I don't see them losing until the trophy, because they'll be playing in this. If they win, they'll be playing in the semi-final against Portugal or France, and then potentially against either the Netherlands, England, Switzerland, or Turkey. So I would go probably either. I would go honestly for a win for Spain, but a close one, probably 1-0 or 2-0. I was having in the back of my mind maybe some penalty shootout, but I don't think it's going to happen because Spain is going to attack a lot and they're going to try and score. Germany probably the same. So I would go either 1-0 or 2-1 for Spain.
I could actually see it going to extra time. Something like a Fabian Grosso goal for Italy in 2006, maybe one from Spain like that to break Germany's side at home. My biggest worry about Germany is the amount of chances they allow their opponents to create. Hungary had loads, Switzerland had loads and scored. Denmark had loads and should have really scored. And if you give Spain so much chances, they're clinical and they'll punish you. And I don't think Germany would suddenly rise to the highest level of discipline, especially under such pressure. And I think they'll crumble.
Personally, the last time Germany beat Spain was 2014. And that was after the 2014 World Cup win, obviously. Sorry, yeah, I was right, yeah. 2014 World Cup win. I feel 10 years later, it could happen again. Germany going into a home tournament, haven't won in the last 6 matches, have only won once. I feel like Germany could pull off the shock in the head-to-head and win their first game since 2014. I'm going for 2-1 Germany. Musiala goal, Andrik goal, and a goal from Hosselu coming off the bench. So that's my prediction.
I would say that quickly to jump in, as we got 1 minute left. I would want to emphasize that although this game is called the two teams basically expected to win the trophy, semi-final, whoever they face will be different. Winning this would not guarantee either team progression to the final because they play one style, Portugal and France playing the other way, and we'll get onto them. I think this will be a flary game, and I think this will be the best game, but not necessarily will it feature one of the two next favorites or one of the two next European champions. I think Spain win it. I think Spain win it in extra time.
Thank you for watching the Eurobox. I've been Leny. Thank you for joining me today, Mikhail and Mathias. If you're on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're on a stream platform, make sure to give a 5-star and follow. Thank you and goodbye.